Hello, everyone, and welcome to Global Village TV show. And my name is Grant Jensen, and I'm the host of this morning. And with me today, I'm happy to introduce Madhu Bala and also Joseph Octavious. And so they've graciously agreed to be with us here today. And we're just going to ask a few questions, a little bit about their background, some of their stories, and what they're up to now. And so we'll just get right into it. So we'll start with you, Madhu. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and where you come from?
Joseph. So I started my journey as a student here in Canada. So I did my first schooling in Lindsay. I was in Ontario before. Then for my co-op, I went in Barrie. And then second program I took in Kitchener. It was my food safety and quality assurance. Then I moved here because my one friend was here and she was saying, there is good opportunities for you in Brooks if you are thinking about this. So from Kitchener, and then I decided within 1 month I moved here in Brooks, and I really like Brooks. Reason behind, actually there is opportunities. Within first day I get my first job here. It was like, I was not expecting, because that time, like, if people were saying, oh, there is hard to get the job. But I said, if you are trying, if you are giving your best, you can easily get a job. And with the first day, I get my job here.
Mm-hmm.
Great. It was great. And my husband was also with me. So it took 2 or 3 days for him because he was new in Canada. So his English was not this much fluent, but he got a job, and right now he's a grocery manager in Walmart.
Perfect.
And and the store manager is also thinking to promote him further because of a good hard work person, right? Mm-hmm. So I like my job also, and right now I'm working in TD Bank. Mm-hmm. And it was my dream, seriously, I will say, to be in a bank, because in a bank you are meeting different kind of people. Mm-hmm. You will see the old people, you will see the young people, all experienced people. And sometimes, I get such customers there. They naturally want to talk with you. They share their experience with you. And it's really nice to listen to someone, because we don't have people around us who listen us. And I'm very good listener in these things. And I love to talk with them. They also ask us about Indian culture. And I love to share my culture, like, if someone is interested. So I love my job, that's why. And let's see.
That's okay.
Sorry, I'm
You're doing fine.
What else I will say, sorry.
So Madhu, just tell me a little bit, go back to, like, you grew up in India. And tell me a little bit about your time growing up in India, and you finished all of your primary school in India before you came to Canada. And when did you come, or what caused you to move from India to Canada?
Okay, so actually from India, I'm like a small district, that is Haryana. So there are a lot of restriction, especially for the girls in Haryana. Oh. So it was a little bit hard work for me to come here. Mm-hmm. Reason behind, we are 4 brother sisters. I have 3 sisters, 1 brother. I am the youngest one from my family. But thing is this, my dad was in police job, so it was easy for us to manage our expenses and everything. Anyhow, my dad, he gave his best, and we all are educated right now. My brother is he did his master in biochemistry. My sister is masters in physics, applied physics. My elder sister, she did polytechnicals, like in computer engineering. And I did my graduation like in agriculture. But my dad's dream was, he want to see me as a, there is agriculture specialist, something there. But because I did my study in Punjab, my graduation was in Punjab. So, some people are saying, like, once you are in Punjab, you will think about the foreign. So it was like this. But because I was planning to do my master further, and it was really too expensive in India.
Sure.
So in agriculture especially. Mm-hmm. So I was thinking about this thing, because if my dad will spend this much money for my master, it's hard for me to cover for the next 10 years. Mm-hmm. It was 500K around.
Okay.
for 2 years only. And my dad was the only one person in our house who was earning, right? So, and my other brother, sister, they were already in their colleges. So it was a lot. My dad, every year I noticed, every year he was taking loan to complete, like, pay our fees and all these expenses. Here was a turning point. Here I feel it's better now you have to stand rather than to rely on like for everything on your dad. So I applied a job. There was 28 candidate in that job, and I was the only one who selected.
Okay. Good for
And when I heard this news, someone did call because I don't have phone that time. My dad was saying, "Oh, you are selected for this job." I said, I think someone is kidding with me. And like in our family, we were not allowed to work. That was the first time. It was surprise for me also because my dad first time said yes to me. You can go for this job.
Oh.
And I was really happy. So I will say in our family, I was the one who come with a change. And with this, I feel, okay, maybe I can do further. So while doing job, again, it was in my mind, I have to go Canada or so, like I have two options, New Zealand or Canada, because I want to do my study in agriculture. So that time while doing my job, I give my IELTS exam. I don't have passport before. I applied my passport with my own money because my dad was thinking, oh, once we will apply his passport, like her passport, she will go. She will be not here in India. They will not apply for me. So once I get my job, I applied my passport, I give my IELTS exam, then now I need the big fund.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was thinking like how I will manage these things. So one of my childhood friend, his mother support me. I talked with her. I said, Auntie, I have some dreams. I want to go there. Then she talked with my mom and my dad. Your daughter, she has passion. She is hardworking. She can manage everything. If she can do study in another district, why not in another country? People normal people are going, like normal kids are going. But Madhu is already passionate, so why you guys are not giving chance to her, right? So here was the, again, second turning point, that I am the first girl or first person you can say, because not a single boy went abroad. I was the only one. And I really say thank to my aunt, who tried to talk with my parents.
Planted that seed.
Oh yeah, really, that's matter a lot. Yeah. The person who just did a seedling for you, right? She matter a lot, and I really thank her. Even if she want anything to me, she will say anything to me. I will never say no, because she is the only lady who helped me or who support me first. She was the first lady. Yeah. So I really appreciate her. Yeah. And later her son was here, so I support her. She just say, "Oh, Madhu, my son is coming here." I said, "Don't worry. Yeah. He's my brother now."
A little payback. Sure.
Yeah,
that's good.
And
perfect.
You feel a relief when you are doing something for someone.
Perfect.
Okay, so then my parents ready for this. My dad paid everything for me. Yeah. And I will say, my dad, he give his each penny, in the whole life, what he earned, he spent for me.
That's great.
That's a big thing. Yeah. Like in whole life, what you earn, you spend just for one kid. You have already 3 kids, but you give for me. So it means he has also hope, or he also understand, like she want to do something. Right. And and with the dreams, I came in Canada.
Good. Great story, Madhu. Great story. So wonderful.
Thank you.
Joseph, same story, same sort of question for you. I know a little bit about your background, but for those people who are watching today, tell us a little bit about where you're from, and what are sort of some of the things that sort of conspired in your life that allowed you or caused you to consider relocating and coming to Canada. Tell us about that journey.
Well, thank you for having me here. In the first place, you and I, we go way back. And my journey to Canada has been very fascinating, at the same time challenging. and I'm very grateful for all the challenges that I've encountered during my journey all the way to Canada. So originally, I was born and raised in Liberia. So I did my teenage years in Liberia and until 1990 when the civil crisis actually broke out. So Liberia was actually engulfed in a very sanguinary political crisis in the early 90s. So because of that political crisis, hundreds of thousands of Liberians actually, fled the country into neighboring countries. So I was, one of the people that actually, fled with hundreds of thousands of Liberian refugees into one of the neighboring countries called Guinea. So Guinea is a French-speaking. So while we're in Guinea with my family and hundreds of thousands of other refugees there on the refugees camp, so after a while, my family decided that that it was better for me to to go somewhere to Ivory Coast, and then from Ivory Coast to Nigeria. And so while in Nigeria, because refugees were no longer deemed to be safe in Guinea, and no longer deemed to be safe also in the Ivory Coast. So we had a journey all the way from Guinea to the Ivory Coast and all the way to Nigeria. So while in Nigeria, we were taken to the refugees camp. So while on the refugees camps, a lot of things happened on the refugees camp. So we had to fend for our own survival on a daily basis. You got to make sure how to navigate the system on the camp. You got to make sure how to fend for your survival to ensure that you stay alive pretty much on a daily basis, because camp life is also a struggle in itself. Because while you are there, before the UNHCR, called the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, so the UNHCR will ration basically, foods on the basis of every 3 months. So that's one of the responsibilities of the UN. So while you're on this refugees camp, you're expected to receive some rations, some relief, items and relief aid from the UNHCR on the basis of every 3 months. So within, the period of 3 months, so you have to wait until another 3 months also come around. So within that time frame, you have to make sure you ensure your survival. You got to make sure you fend for whatever you believe that can ensure your survival within that time frame. So it became some sort of a struggle for a lot of refugees there. So while in Nigeria, the local people, Nigerians also begin to see refugees as a threat. Mm-hmm. So because Nigeria, is one of the richest countries, I should say, in Africa and around the world, but in itself is also considered to be one of the poorest countries, given the size of the population of that country. So there are a lot of poor people in Nigeria. Besides, the political system there is now also a stable one. And given that political background, so refugees we're seeing has, compounding the crisis, compounding the social life, compounding pretty much everything for them. So we were seeing as a burden. We were seeing as a problem. So they were telling us pretty much, they used to tell us on a daily basis that they are struggling to survive. That why is it that we have come here? Why is it that we have come to compound their problems? What is it that we have come to complicate pretty much everything for them? So we became, they began to view us, as a problem, as complication. So that led to some sort of frictions between the local population and the refugee population. Mm-hmm. So crisis pretty much all the time on the refugees camp, so we will witness crisis on the camp, crisis erupting between the local population and the refugee population. So the refugee population would sometimes, complain to the local authorities, but the local authorities will not do much because they themselves were not also happy about being there, because they used to complain about, poor salary. They say they are not paid, so they can't have, they cannot do their best to ensure the security to ensure the safety of the refugee population on the refugees camp. So what I meant that refugees, were left to fend for their own survival, their safety, to ensure their well-being on the refugees camp. So fast forward, so the UNHCR, began to introduce a program to the refugee population on the refugees camp. It's called the Resettlement Program. So this is a resettlement program that is actually, conducted by wealthy countries around the world, like Canada, Australia, New Zealand, in the United States. So those countries, pretty much, launched these resettlement programs through the United Nations HCR. So they would go to refugees camp, not just in Africa, but around the world, to actually select refugees. So the program would be introduced to refugees on the refugees camp. So while on the refugees camp, so we were very fortunate to apply for for a refugee for a resettlement program on the refugee camp in Nigeria. So thousands of people did apply. So I was one of the lucky ones that actually got through after a series of interviews with the UNHCR, the local authorities in Nigeria, and also with the Canadian immigration team. So finally we got selected in 2007. So we immigrated to Canada. And my first point of destination in Canada was in Newfoundland in 2007. So while in Newfoundland in 2007, we were weeks away from the airport and taken to the house that the government has already rented us for us. So while there, so we began to experience some sort of systemic change. So a local immigration team, in Canada was assigned to our group, and that team will come every morning. They would take us to the ESL school. They would take us around. They would help us with documentation, and pretty much they would take us to the grocery store. They would tell us how to call a cab. They would also show us, how to take a public transport within the city of St. John's in Newfoundland. And then they would help us with, all those, necessary necessary documents that we actually needed to integrate and settle within our new society, new community in St. John's. So every morning, like I said, a bus would come, and from the local immigration team, they'll say, hey, you guys have to go to ESL, because that's part of the system. When you come to Canada from Africa, as a whole, so you're expected to go to the ESL program. So every morning they will ask us, you got to go to the ESL program. So I did go to the ESL program. I did attend the ESL program, about 3 times. And then the 4th time I said, well, I wouldn't go. Right. So the guy that was assigned to our team, he was a student of Memorial University. He was pursuing a master's degree during that time. So every time that he came, he would say, oh, we got to go to ESL. It's time for ESL. Then the 3rd time, and I said, well, I wouldn't go. And he said, well, why would you go? You got to go. You're part of this group. So, and that's part of the program. You have to go to ESL. And I said, well, sir, with all respect, I've been there, twice, and I don't think that school is meant for me. And they said, but why? I said, I've been there, all that, we do that is to read flyers, is to read newspapers, and it's to tell us, how to spell house, how to spell cup, how to spell bottle. I said, but I am way above that. So I don't think the ES is meant for me. I say, I see ESL as a waste of time for me. I said, I can't speak for the rest of the group, but I can speak for myself. So ESL is not a place for me to be. It's a waste of my time. So I can't go. I'm not going to go. So he got, pretty much furious. I said, well, I'm not going to go. So I rebelled against the system because I saw it as a very good, as a waste of my time. And that's exactly what it was. And he said, well, if you can't go, I'm going to report you to the immigration. I said, go ahead, sir. Go ahead, the immigration is going to come and talk to me, and I'm going to talk to them. I said, you and I, we understand each other very well. We communicate in English. You understand me, I understand you. So why is it that you will insist that I go to ESL when I don't have to be, I don't belong there? And that's what I've been trying to tell you all day, but you don't want to listen. I'm glad. I know you're doing your job, but I'm not part of your job. I've been there twice. I've tested the system. It's not a place for me. It's a waste of my time. I said, I don't care. You can talk to your boss. Your boss is going to come and talk to me, and then we can have a dialogue. We can sit down. So I rebelled. So the members of my group, were all angry against me. They all became furious. That, why is it you don't want to go? You just came to the people's country. They're asking you to do something. You don't want to do it. That's the system. You have to go to ESL. I said, well, I'm not going to speak for all of you, but I can speak for myself. Mm-hmm. And so it led to some sort of, animosity within the group, because my group wasn't actually happy with my decision. They wasn't happy that I rebelled. So they just wanted me to follow, and at the end of the day, waste the rest of my time. So when I rebelled and refused to go, so pretty much my group became angry with me as well. I said, okay, no problem. So when they left that day without me, so what I did, I was home alone. And I decided, I said, okay, since I'm home alone, I'm going to do something with my time. So I stepped out of the house, and then I started going, around the community, asking people in the street. I said, hey, I've heard that there's a university here. Can you lead me to the university? Can you direct me? Can you tell me what a university is? And, there were a lot of good people, and they started pointing me into the right direction. And I walked all the way to the university, to Memorial University campus. And I went there and I started asking people, I said, okay, where are, the departments of, the university here? And there was a student that I ran into, and he took me directly to the Department of Sociology. So that was my first experience, with the university system in Canada. So when I went to the university system, to the Department of Sociology, I asked, the secretary there. I said, hey, can I talk to someone here? Hey, can I talk to the head of department? And the secretary said, well, do you have an appointment? I said, no, ma'am, I don't have any appointment. He said, but why do you want to talk to the head of department for? I said, well, I just want to have a conversation. And she said, okay, she's not in right now. How about you come tomorrow at 2 p.m.? I said, okay, I'm going to come tomorrow at 2 p.m. And I left. I took the same, route that I took to come, to the campus. I followed the same road back to the house. And then later on, my group members, they came from ESL, and when they came, they started screaming and yelling, oh, you're going to cause trouble for us. The people that are trying to help you just came to Canada. They're telling you to go to ESL. What is it you don't want to go? Why are you so stubborn? I said, no, I am not stubborn. You guys don't just get it. That's all. I've been to ESL twice, and I've seen what they do there. My level is way above that. I'm not going to sit there and waste my time. I don't gain anything by going there. It's a loss for me when I go there. I don't get anything. I said, that's what I've been trying to tell you guys, but you guys don't want to understand. I know it's the system, but that doesn't mean that whatever the system tells you, you have to follow. You got to analyze the system and try to challenge it. And that's exactly what I'm doing. So rebelling in a positive way is what I'm doing. And so the next day, I went for my appointment to the university. I followed the same route. Went to the university for my 2 o'clock appointment, and I went to talk to, the head of department, a very wonderful, very helpful lady. And she said, oh, are you Joseph? I said, yes. She said, I heard that you came by yesterday. I said, yes, I did. She said, okay, come in. And I sat down. She said, what can I do for you? How can I help you? And I said, well, I want to go to university. And I've been told by the guy that is helping our immigration team, our refugees team, that I can never go to university in Canada unless I have the Canadian experience. I said, because I've been telling him that I have, graduated from high school. I've completed high school back in the refugees camp in Nigeria, but I did not come with any high school credentials because of the way we left, as refugees. So we were just, bundled up as refugees. We were told you don't have to take some of your belongings. You don't need them. This is Canada. They'll provide you pretty much everything new. And I said, since we came, I've been telling this guy that I want to go to a college or a university. And he's been telling me that you can never go to college or university in Canada unless you have the Canadian experience. I said, well, how can I have the Canadian experience if I'm not enrolled in one of the post-secondary institutions? So he's been suggesting that I go to ESL. And I've been there twice. ESL is a waste of time for me. And I said, but I can't go by the high school. I'm not going to repeat high school. I've done it once. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it twice. So I told him university or college is where I want to go. And he said, well, that's not possible. And he said, you can't just come from Africa and go to university in Canada. I said, that statement infuriated me a lot. By saying you can't just come from Canada, from Africa and go to university in Canada. And that's what I want to prove to this guy, that I can do it, that I can come from Africa with my high school qualification and enroll in a Canadian university. Right? I said, but this guy, he refused to listen to me. He refused to help me. He wouldn't even tell me what a university was. He would never tell me what a university was. I asked him, sir, where's the university? I want to go there. He said, I don't know. He said, I won't tell you because that's not a place you're supposed to be. You got to be part of this group and you got to go to ESL. And the head of the Department of Sociology said, well, thank you, Joseph. You came to the right place. And then he said, well, with all the conversation you and I we've been having, I think you belong here at Memorial University. I said, thank you. That's what I've been communicating to this guy. But he refused to listen to me. He's been saying that I can't come from Africa and go to university directly in Canada, that I have to have the Canadian experience. I said, well, my Canadian experience has to be in university, not in ESL, right? But he refused, right? And the lady said, okay, no problem. With the conversation we've had, follow me, Joseph. We're going to go to the registrar's office. And I followed this lady. She took me to the registrar's office. And there I also met another wonderful lady. So the head of department introduced me to the registrar. And as we sat in the registrar's office, she said, this is Joseph. You should listen to his story. He got a lot of beautiful things to say. And so I sat there, in the registrar's office with the head of department of sociology by my side. And then I narrated my story, answered a lot of questions. And the registrar said, Joseph, okay, since you don't have any high school credential, indicating that you've completed high school or back in Nigeria in a refugees camp, so what we are going to do, we are going to give you some aptitude test. So are you ready for aptitude test? I said, yes. I said, that's what I've been asking for someone to test me.
Sure.
I said, that's what I want. Test me what I can do it or not. If I fail, throw me out. That's it. Send me back to high school. If I fail, throw me out. I said, that's the challenge I've been waiting for. But that guy assigned to our group, he's been nothing but a jerk, with a discriminatory language saying that I can't come from Africa and go to university directly in Canada, that I have to have a Canadian experience. And I've been telling her, sir, how can I help if I'm not part of the system? She said, okay, Joseph, so we are going to give you 2 aptitude tests. So go and come back tomorrow at 11 a.m. You come tomorrow, then by the time you get here, your text will be prepared. And I went back. So I was so happy, so happy. I couldn't get to, share the news with my group in the house, because they were back and forth between the house and the ESL. So when I went there, I shared the exciting news with them. They said, really? How did they do that? You're not even going to get it. You're not even in the system yet. They just say you should go and write a test. You don't even know if you're going to pass the test. I said, all right. I said, watch me. So when I came, they say, well, are you not going to study for the test? I said, I don't know. They just said, come tomorrow. You see, they said, aptitude test. I said, I've never even heard of this term, but they said, come tomorrow for your aptitude test. And I said, I don't know what it is. I said, well, I'm going to go tomorrow at 11 a.m. and see what the test will be all about. And then the next day, at 10:40, 10:45, I was already there. So they took me to one classroom with an invigilator, a supervisor there, supervising me. So I did the first test for about 40 minutes or so. Not after the first test, they also took me to another classroom with another invigilator, a supervisor, to do the second aptitude test. And then they said, okay, Joseph, well, so now you're done. Come back tomorrow. And then we'll tell you whether you made it or not. I said, all right. So I was anxious, I was nervous, I didn't know what exactly was going to happen at the end of the day while I was going home. So when I went home, my group members actually, saw me coming. They said, well, how did the test go? I said, I don't know, I did my best. I said, I don't know, I did my best. They said, what the test was, what was the test about? I said, I did 2 tests, and the test was about a lot of stuff. I said, I don't know, I didn't even prepare, but I said, but I did my best. He said, well, you just came to Canada, and you're trying to get into the university system, you didn't even study, so we don't think you're even going to pass. You don't think you're going to make it. I said, well, you should have talked to the decision to go to ESL, right? Get used to ESL and see how the system works and see how things go. And then later on, like the guy said, you can begin to go to high school or college, university. But you refuse to listen to the guy. Mm-hmm. Now you don't know what's going to happen. I said, we shall see. So the next day I went back, I couldn't even sleep, all night. So I didn't even know what to expect, all right? Because I was so nervous. I didn't know what the result, because I was nervous to the extent that I did not want my group members to laugh at me. I did not want them to say, oh, we told you. I did not want the guy that was in charge of our group to tell you, I told you so. Mm-hmm. So because of all these things that ringing at the back of my head, I couldn't sleep all night. And I said, okay, we shall see whatever happens. That's it. So the next day, I went back to the university, to the registrar's office. And, as nervous as I was, so I walked in there, I sat down. So, well, Joseph, we've gone through your 2 tests that you did yesterday. And so I was watching her. She was writing something on a yellow sticker note. I didn't know what exactly she was writing. So I was just sitting, very worried. I thought she was going to say, well, Joseph, well, you got to go back to high school. This is Canada. You're not fit. And then later what she did, she wrote some number. She wrote a number on the yellow sticker note to say, okay, Joseph, this is your student number. Welcome to Memorial University.
There you go.
I said, what? She said, this is your student number. I said, this number? She said, yeah, welcome to Memorial University. She shook my hand. Wow. I couldn't believe it. I said, this is my student number. She said, yes, you're part of Memorial University. You passed the test. I said, yes, that's what I want to hear. She said, yeah, you made it. You passed the 2 tests. So, congratulations. wow. I said, yes. And she said, you know what? Take this number, and go to the UC, which is the University Center. She said, I'm going to, ask someone to walk you there, and then you go and take take photo for a university ID card. I said, now? She said, yes, it's going to happen now. So she called, one of our office assistants. She said, take Joseph to the University Center to, get his student ID right away. I couldn't believe it. So this person walked me there. We got to the University Center, to one of their studios there, and then I sat down and it took my photo, my student ID just dropped in the bottom of a tray there, less than 5 minutes. And I said, this is your university ID. I couldn't believe it. Everything is on it of my photo. I said, this is my university ID. He said, yes, you're part of this school now.
Sure.
What? That was the first biggest days of my life. I was so excited to the stand that, I didn't even know what to do. I started running back to the house, running, because I wanted to share the news. I wanted to break the news with my group member. So when I went there, I flashed my ID. They said, what is it? I said, see it, read it. It said Joseph Octavious. That's my student number, Memorial University of Newfoundland. And they all started looking at it one by one. They said, wow, how did you do it? How did you do it, Joseph? You just came. I said, well, I told you, sometimes it's good to be a rebel, but a good one. Be a good rebel, challenge the system academically, challenge the system, by telling people there are other ways to do the same thing. I said, this is one of the problems with immigrants, with refugees. When we come to Canada or Australia, New Zealand, or the US, when we come, so we always do what we are told. I see it's not our fault, but sometimes we also have to do some research to challenge the system, right? I said that was what I did. I did not do anything other than that, because I realized that I was wasting my time at ESL. So I told this guy, I said ESL was not for me. My level was above that. I have completed high school back in the refugees camp in Nigeria. And here I'm out there telling me to go to ESL. And each time I go to ESL, I read flyers, I read about books, I read about TV, I read about news. I said, well, this is not me. I can't be here, right? I said, that was when I realized, I said, it was a waste of time for me. And I had to do something about it. And I had to speak, to this guy to make him understand that that's not where I belong. I belong somewhere else, right? So, and when I did that, and, I said it worked, and now I'm a university student. So September came around, I enrolled, into Memorial University as a first year student. So, which was beautiful. I started going to school, and so 2 months into my study at Memorial University, I dropped out. I dropped out of the university. So I did not drop out because I couldn't face the academic challenges. I dropped out because I couldn't secure a student loan because I was less than 6 months old in Canada, less than 6 months. I had just come to Canada in June in 2007, and then in September I started school. Right, I started my school at my studies at Memorial University. So I run around and said, well, Joseph, you got to pay your school fees. They kept giving me the deadline. Well, they said, if you don't pay your school fees, and, by this date, well, you have been withdrawn, your student number is going to be suspended, and you won't be a student at Memorial University anymore. And I asked them about, what do you think I can do? How can I stay here? I want to continue to stay here. I'm a student. They said, well, you don't have money to pay for your fees, and you're not qualified for student loan. I said, well, I'm not qualified for student loan. I'm a permanent resident. I should be qualified for student loan. They said, no, you're not eligible yet for a student loan. You have to be in Canada for 12 months as a permanent resident. They said, that's the law, that's the rule. As a permanent resident, you have to be in Canada for the period of 12 months before you become eligible for student loan. I said, oh, I didn't know that. And they said, well, Joe, so you have almost 6 months old in Canada, not even 12 months yet. They said, that's the reason why you're not eligible for student loan. So if you're not eligible for student loan, you have no money. You just came to Canada, so you can't pay. You can't afford to pay your fees. I said, okay, I understand the system. I said, this one, there's no one to beat this one. There's nowhere to challenge this one.
Right.
Yeah, so there's nowhere to challenge this one. So I talked to pretty much everybody there with the administration at the university. So wherever I went, they told me the same thing. I said, okay, no problem. I will withdraw. So I dropped my classes, because I couldn't secure a student loan to go to school. So after dropping my classes, I started working at McDonald's. So I took up a job at McDonald's. I would work for 8 hours to 12 to 16 hours every day. All right. So after my first shift, my first 8-hour shift, the supervisor will ask, "Oh, someone calling sick. Who wants to stay for another 8 hours?" I would say, "Yes, I want to do another 8 hours." So I would do another 8 hours, so 16 hours. So I did that just to raise, money for plane fare to come to Brooks.
Okay.
Because I had a friend, who now lives in Ontario. So he had come before me, to Canada from the same refugees camp. Okay. So they traveled before us to Canada, while we're still back on the refugees camp. So he traveled from Ontario to Brooks to work at JBS. They used to call that Lakeside during that time in 2007. So he was here, so I used to communicate with him from Newfoundland while I was working at McDonald's. So he said, "Oh, why don't you come over here to JBS? They pay very well. Come to Lakeside. Lakeside pays well." So he asked me, "Well, how much do they pay you?" I said, "About $8.50 at McDonald's." In 2007, he said, "Oh, come here. JBS pays about $14 to $16. Wow. So, okay, I'm going to come. So I worked for 16 hours all the time to raise money for plane fare. And so after I made some money for plane fare, I bought a ticket right away, flew to Calgary in 2007. The same 2007, and then took a Greyhound bus from Calgary all the way to Brooks. And then in November of 2007, November 3rd, I believe, I started working at JBS. And so I worked at JBS for almost 2 years, for 1 year, 8 months precisely. So after that, so while I was working at JBS for almost 2 years, every year, every month I would send about, $1,500 to Memorial University in advance into my student account, because that was my mission. I did not want to be seen as a failure, not just to my group members, but also to the university that had, tested me and given me the chance to be part of the system. So I wanted to prove to the university that I was going to come back, right? I wasn't going away, and that was the end of Joseph's story, all right? So every month I would send $1,500 to the university for almost 2 years. So after that, I quit from JBS, from Lakeside, and then took a plane and one-way ticket back to Newfoundland to start where I left off. And that was in 2009. From 2007 to 2009, August, and then September of 2009, I started my degree program again. And from there, I graduated in 2013, with a bachelor's degree in political science. And then after that, I did 1 year postgraduate studies in criminology. I finished that in 2014. And then in 2014, so I left Newfoundland and came back to Brooks. So when I came back to Brooks, my first professional job was at BCIS. I worked there as a student coordinator.
Just to be clear, that's Brooks Community Immigration Service.
That Brooks County Immigration Services. So BCIS is Brooks County Immigration Services. So that was my first professional job as a youth coordinator at BCIS. So while I was there, part of my job was also in the school while you were a principal there. So I used to work with students there, not just at BCIS, but also part of my job was also in the school system at a high school. And during that, I also started, while I was doing our job, I started my master's program with the university in the U.S., American Public University in the U.S. in Charlestown, West Virginia. So I started my 2-year master program, and I finished that in 2018 with the university in the U.S. So I went there for the graduation and came back. And then, so after that, I moved to Grasslands Public School as a full-time employee. So I left BCIS for Grasslands, and that's where I think you were already gone by the time I became a full-time worker there, staff there. And since 2014, since 2018, I've been at Grassland until now. Since I graduated with a master's degree in international relations and conflict resolution from American Public University in the U.S.
It's a compelling and powerful story, Joseph, and I know you've shared it with me before, and every time I go, it's an amazing journey. So
since then it's been wonderful.
And just to be clear, like you talked about sort of that barrier of trying to get into university.
Yeah.
Your background as a refugee, you mentioned that you were you completed high school there. But because you moved around,
Yes.
you were fluent in 2 languages, in
Yes.
English and French.
Yes.
And then so when you came, I would imagine that some of those assessments that you got at Memorial University, those aptitude tests, were sort of a gauge of your English competency,
Yes,
right? That's
yes.
probably what it was. And you, Madhu, mentioned specifically IQUAS, right? And the test that you had to do in order to get your qualifications recognized
Yes, we
here.
need to give a IELTS exam, like especially for the student. So we have to complete the exam, and once there is for the each course there is limited. Okay, you have to get 6.5, 7 point something like this.
A certain standard.
So there is a standard, So we have to complete with this, and because I did my bachelor's in back home, so so according to your the study level, that's it's more and more, just like this. So we have to pass the exam. Only then you will get offer letter from the university. Once you get from university, so only that time you can apply for visa. And that's not okay. Once you get the offer letter, that's not necessary. You will get the visa also. So the second thing, for visa, we need to work a lot. We have to show our funds, like we are eligible for this thing. We can pay our fees and everything, because my dad was in police, so he has some PF and other savings. So anyhow, he managed everything. So whatever our property is in the back, so we have to show all these things. Like okay, we can pay our fees. If we will not get any kind of a job there, we are eligible, like we can make our funds. So same thing I did here. So in the starting, like as Joseph said, it's hard to understand the policies here, to like especially when you are alone. I am the first person, so I don't have anyone from my family who can guide me. So when I was here in Lindsay, oh my goodness, it is empty. Like no one was around me.
Yes.
So for a second, I was thinking, oh my God, where I am, because my friend dropped me. There was a guy, he did study with me, so he dropped me in that city. The whole building was empty. Not a single person you can see around you, because it was very small town. And I just went in, my first house. There was 3 rooms and everything was messy, because before this some maybe students was there, so they didn't clear everything. So I was alone. First night I sleep there and I was alone. You can think that's your first day in Canada and you are in a house alone. I scared a lot.
I'm sure.
I literally cry.
Yeah, it happens.
Okay, anyhow, I just managed. And the bad thing is this, my mom, she packed some stuff in my bag so that I need not to go somewhere for my food. So I just make my rice and pulses everything. And I did, So next day, whole the day I was waiting, maybe someone, I can see a man at least around me. But no one came.
Wow.
It was evening, 4 around o'clock. There wasn't a girl enter in the house. I was, oh my God, thank God. I'm getting a company here. So when she entered, and she said, no, that's not good. I don't want to stay here. And I literally cried. I cried really very bad. You are new in Canada and you don't have a single person around you to talk, to share your feelings, right? And I don't know the market. I don't know what the next procedure is. Then she just, after 2 or 3 hours, she come back. I said, I can't explain you how much happy I am to see you. See oh my God. I just check all the buildings. There is no students. So that's why I come back to you. I said, thank you for coming back. So next day, because we have to get a job. Otherwise, it's hard to, complete all the expenses. You can't. We are getting a GIC, like when we took admission, that time a portion of money we have to deposit here, so that like, okay, during the student, if we are not getting work, we can pay our expenses with this money. So that's GIC.
So it's a guarantee.
Kind of a guarantee fund. So it every month we were getting this. But sometimes that's not enough. Sometimes, we are a student, so we have to buy some books also. We need some, sort of kind of like a laptop. I have to buy a laptop, 400 or 500 you have to spend this one. But we were getting only $670 in a month. You have to pay your rent. You have to manage your groceries. You have to pay your study, printout and all these things. So it was second day. I just talked with the girl. I said, okay, now we have to go out to get our, for a job. So morning 9 o'clock, just like, I just pack my bag. I put, okay, water bottle. I have to keep something, snacks in my bag. And we just make the bag. We went in our college, take print out for our resume. So, and then we make a round in whole city. And it was around 11 or 12 kilometer we cover in a day. And continuously we did this for 5 days. And finally we both get the job. And students were saying, like, in Lindsay it's hard to get the job, but we got the job. And we were known for this. Oh, there is 2 girls who get the job in Lindsay.
What was your first job in Lindsay?
I work in Tim Horton.
Okay.
Yeah, it was Tim Horton job. So luckily we both joined at the same place.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. But later, because of my study timing, it was not working for me. So I had to quit the job. Then there was a restaurant, family restaurant.
Okay.
So I joined there. So after study, I was going there for the restaurant. And the best thing I will say, here also I'm again lucky, because the owner of the restaurant was really nice. He know she's coming from like directly college to here. He always prepares something for me. Madhu, just had this thing and then you can start the job.
Yeah.
So I will say, when I come here, I found really very nice people.
That's good to hear.
And where I was living, he was from India, the building owner. So I was talking with him. He come to us. I just prepare tea and all these things. I just give to him. So he said, Madhu, don't worry about this month rent. He didn't took my first month rent.
Wow.
So I can't say like everyone is bad. I found all super people, super helping people, cooperative people, and I really thank. Till now, like I came in 2019 here. Till now, I'm talking with the guy. He said, Madhu, don't worry. Whenever you're coming, just come to see me.
Wow.
If you need something, just come to see me. And someone just say these words. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not going to ask them, oh, I need this one. But if someone just say these words, it motivate you. Okay, someone is behind you in case you need help. But thing is this, I'm giving my 100% first. If there is like 1% chance that I will see that back.
Definitely.
Right? First, I will give my best. And like just Joseph, you faced a lot. Yeah, I will say I did a lot. Because once you separate from your family, I have a big family there, and suddenly you are here alone. I did my first shopping, and I was thinking, oh my goodness, I have to think about these things also now. I have to think about sugar. I have to think about the rice. I never think about this thing because in back home, mom were doing everything. So it was a big turning point for my life.
No doubt. So, and I guess on that note, it brings us to sort of this wrap up piece. And just sort of, I know you've talked a little bit about it, and just maybe if you can articulate it in a couple of sentences. What's a piece of advice that you would give to young people that might be facing some of the same challenges that you did, whether it's trying to navigate an education system or leaving a refugee camp and starting over again, or whether it's facing sort of some family issues, maybe even depression? What's the piece of advice that you would like to share in just a few sentences?
So I will say, I always say, like, be positive. Don't think about around what people are saying. You should know what is your goal. If you know what is your goal, you should be focused. You should try to find the way how I can be at my goal, rather than you will always get negative people around you, but you need to be positive. Anyhow, no one is going to cover your fees, no one is going to pay your expenses. You have to be, for example, if you want to live a luxury life, first you have to start with the zero. Right now you have to make all the expenses zero, so that one day you will be at your luxury car. So for the starting period, maybe you have to reduce your expenses, but later you can achieve your goal. So if you will start with zero, you are at the learning point. But if you are thinking I know everything, you can't learn anything. So yes, around your people you will find every kind of people. Some are not educated, some are too much educated. So you have to learn from both sides, not only from one side. He has luxury car, he has this standard of life, I will learn from this. No, go this side also, because they have experience. Okay, from here I can understand what the loopholes are, and then I can think about this, say, oh, I have to work on that so that I will be there. So everything is here, and then you will reach the second point. So yeah, you need to be a good learner. You need to be positive whenever something is coming. Don't worry about this thing. Just think about yourself and about your goal, where you have to be.
So I think that's a good advice, is to try and learn from everyone.
Yeah, everyone.
Right? That's right. I think everyone we run into, everyone we meet can share a little bit, and we can learn a little bit from them. Joseph, any pieces of advice?
Yeah, so the piece of advice I would give to young people would be, to have a clear goal in life, and to also be able to, to delay their instant gratification, to be able to delay their long-term goals for their short-term goal for their long-term goals. Because if you are able to do that, to delay your short-term goal for your long-term goal, and also to delay your instant gratification for your long-term goal, it's likely that you're going to achieve your long-term goal and become somewhat successful in life. Because oftentimes what I've seen with a lot of young people, especially within the school system, is all about money, 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 money.
Yeah.
They want to get rich overnight. They want to have beautiful cars, beautiful electronic gadgets overnight.
Sure.
So they're very much fascinated by material stuff done by educational pursuit. And I always tell them, so look, these are instant gratification. This is not something that's going to take you anywhere meaningful. School is the way out. Education is the way out. And I encourage them very much to actually focus on their educational pursuit by, telling them stories, by, helping them with challenges, by helping them with the kind of academic programs they should enroll in based on their grades in school. And so by guiding them through the process. So by doing so, at the end of the day, you're likely to achieve your academic goal. So do not focus on money right now, because money is not everything.
Yeah.
Do not focus on material stuff. Material stuff come and go. And do not be so fascinated by instant gratification, because it's not going to last. It's only temporary. So you got to look for something that is going to be permanent and that you're going to depend on for the rest of your life, that no one can take it away from you. So that's education.
And on that note, I think that's good advice for everyone. It's good advice for all of us. Well, thank you both for being with us today and sharing your insights. It was great to talk to you, great to meet you, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Madhu.
Thank you.